G'day guys, welcome back to another video with Eno here from Fantasy Take TV. Today I'm going to be looking at a few of the members teams, about 5 or so, just quickly before the second week of the preseason games, and final before the season gets underway. Only, pretty much 2 weeks now before the opening blockbuster for round 1. But if you do want to sign up, there's still a lot of content you can watch. We've recorded over the past month or so that's still relevant, talking about line by line. And there's going to be quite a bit of content actually in the next 2 weeks, sort of in the lead up to round 1. You know, a few more rate your teams, a few Q&As with the members that get uploaded privately, and then also the leagues as well, which are pretty much getting finalised now. So you want to be quick. I think we're a few away from 100 members, so it's been awesome to support this preseason. We've really enjoyed doing it, and giving back to the community. It's really good to have some closer discussion as well around the game. And we'll look at this first team from Shandy, which look, there's been a few structures popping up recently that a lot of light defence I've been seeing. Spending that extra cash in the midfield. Obviously, the 4 forwards has been, I think this, we'll just skip down to the forward 6 on field. Like, that is very common, I see at the moment. So I'll speak about it at the end. But yeah, the light defence, and Dawson's a big, is well loved in our Discord anyway, but especially by me as well. Someone I started last year and really enjoyed watching him play. That first little period of him settling in and locking down a role, saw some lower scores, but once he did in the second half of his year was massive, much like the year before at Sydney. But I think he's my favourite 600k plus defender, and he's in my team, so I like that start. Dacos has really given me a headache. Like, his ownership sitting around 50% is one thing, but is he actually going to be worthwhile if he's going to be playing more in the midfield compared to halfback is such a question that I don't have the answer to. I think he's going to be an awesome footballer. He sort of already is, but I would really have loved him to stay at halfback, for another year, and I think he would have been one of the top premiums if so. But that mid-time is it is worrying me a little bit that it might cap him a bit, even though he had insane junior numbers. I just think he's not quite at the body required yet. But in saying that, if there's anyone that could do it, it would definitely be him. So one I'm tossing and turning myself. I think he's out of my team currently, but he could easily enter it. I think they've got Hawthorn tomorrow, so could absolutely smash them in the midfield and make it hard to fade. Yo's a lock for everyone, I think. Caulfield's an interesting one, someone we probably need to see again this week. I think he played mostly with the 2s in the last game. But yeah, I want to see him with the 1s hopefully this week and see how he goes there. Sort of been managed a little bit, but I think he's in their best 22. It's just, they're probably being a bit cautious, but someone I am keen on at that price if, maybe getting a few kick-ins, but a rebounding defender, halfback, could be quite good. Jinby, photos I've seen of him are just crazy. The size he is and the muscle and build he's got already at a young age. I think he's ready made for AFL. His scoring is probably more the worry for me, or can he outperform that price enough to be worthwhile, right? At 170k, it's not going to be as easy, obviously, as some other guys. So yeah, I want to see him play this week and see what happens. Constable's an interesting one. I don't even know if he's in the best 22. It's hard to say. There's a few guys out at Gold Coast in that position, but he was taking kick-ins last week. I think it's fine. If all these picks come through, and there's, I think Weddle's not going to get a game, it seems like. So, can McKenna find his way back into contention? I think, him and Wilmot have been named halfback today to play this week. So, see how they go. Overall, the defence, though, I do like this strategy. I think 2 would be nice. Currently, I've even seen, I think George at the moment's going Yo at D2. So there's a few options down back. Obviously, they've hopefully got to come through in the next 2 weeks, but there seems to be quite a few. So I do like the setup. If they all come through, I think it can be achieved and be done quite well. The midfield, Clary's great. Bond, I think, is in every team I see. McRae's the interesting one, obviously, with just the dogs and Bevo and what's going to go on there, and it really does make you scratch your head a bit what it's going to look like. Maybe they just run more guys through there, and naturally the days of your or other teams like Clary, for instance, where you get an 85 CBAs, it might be gone at the Dogs. It might just be more guys rotating through, and naturally it's shared more, and you might only get 60, 65 at best, which I think McRae can still score well in, but it's not obviously what you want optimally. So Steelers a really interesting one. Bit of a weird preseason with some, being out of injury, being out of contact training, back in, maybe had an illness or some sort, but supposedly looking really lean and fit. In the game he played last week, I didn't catch too much of it, but apparently went really well in the fourth quarter. But maybe his more contested and tackling game has sort of slipped a bit. And I was sort of looking at his tackling numbers recently, and they dropped a game, I believe, or 1.5 thereabouts from last year or the year before to last, and then also his contested ball was down 2 or 3 a game. So it's like, can he get back to what he was doing in 2021 and sort of 2020? Is obviously the hope at 600k, still a decent price, but undervalued for what we know he has done in the past. So I need another watch for me with Steele. I just don't know if he's the best pick around that price. There's quite a few. Hopper, I think everyone's got. Ashcroft, Phillips, that sort of fills out the line. But you may, in this team, need to swap, one of those defenders to a mid. The mid bench is a real worry, I think, at the moment anyway. Philippou, maybe you field him. Baker may not get a game, it seems. There's a few wingers opting for a spot at the Dogs. Johnson, Blakely, those guys that I don't think are in teams right now. Obviously, we'll hopefully get some others. I think there's McVee at Melbourne might play. He's mid and defender. And some others, maybe like an Alwyn Davey at Essendon. We don't really know. So you're going to have to obviously field one of them in this team at M8. I think, like for me, I've got Will Phillips at M8. Happy with that. I think he's going to get a good role. And then sort of Ashcroft and Hopper, sort of on the bottom line. That's quite common. And if you don't have that, like this team that Shandy has, then, hopefully there's a fieldable other rookie that pops up. I guess Constable can play there too if you grab another defender, something like that. So just something to think about with this sort of setup. English Marshall, I think it's fine if English gets through this week and looks to play round 1. I think you can take the risk, and a Marshall everyone has, and then the forward line. So this is what I've got and had for probably a week or so now, since knowing that Radical Lee has pretty much got the role locked up with Jack Henry being out for a while. So overall I like the team. I don't think the setup's fine. Maybe a few tweaks with some rookies, and just maybe expect that we might not have another great fieldable option in the midfield there, but possibly we do. McVee I think might be the best. Maybe one of those Carlton boys gets up as well. I think Chincotta's got DPP as well, so maybe one of those. Whether or not you're confident enough to field them, we'll see. But overall I do like the team. You got about 27k in the bank, so there is some wiggle room. We've got Scoobs Ahoy here, so thanks for sending your team in, mate. Look, I did get him a bit early. We've actually just learnt that, as I can see straight away here, that Jack Bowes actually is not playing this week. So I think us and from Fantasy Take TV probably just won't recommend picking him if he's played, half a match last week and then not even playing this week. It's pretty worrying that he might not be good to go. There might be an injury. George has cited that there is a little calf niggle supposedly on Big Footy, but maybe there is something going on. I just don't like that prep leading into round 1. Rest of the team, Dacos, Yo, we've spoken about those, so I think totally fine picks. Dacos at D1 though, Yo at D2, it is quite thin, even thinner than some other teams. I think I've seen 1 or 2 running Yo at D1, so that's obviously as thin as you can get. But we've sort of spoken about the rest of the guys. Obviously Bowes have to be changed, but yeah, there's a bit you can do there. Obviously, we'll look now in the midfield, and you're going very heavy there. So, paying up for Laird, no Clary, but paying up for one of the big boys, Bont, Parrish. He's enticing me a little bit. We know his ceiling. He's definitely sort of underpriced for what he has shown a couple of years ago, but it's very hard to just pick him for. He's had a few durability issues, and he did have quite a few of those last year, missed some games here and there, but had a full sort of preseason now, I think, since the turn of the year. So I think he's fine. It's just a little, I don't know, something makes me feel uneasy about whenever I've, put him in my team for a little period. I sort of found myself taking him back out. So, did we talk about, no, Tom, Shandy didn't actually have Tom Green in his team, and I didn't pick up on that. So, yeah, I would even possibly think about going McRae down to Green, and then you could sort of find some cash to maybe fix those rookies up. So that's just something to think about. But yeah, if you don't like Tom Green, that's fine. I just think it looks like a good pick this year. So yeah, Scoobs has got him. Been dominating preseason, been getting a lot of hype from within the camp, and yeah, it's going to be fully unleashed in the midfield. Whether or not he can sustain that over a season is obviously yet to be seen. He wasn't able to do it last year, but you know he's going to get thrown in there a lot more than he did last year too. And you know if he couldn't sort of handle last year's midfield minutes that he was getting, then you know there may be a slight concern that upticking those he may not be able to do that again this year. But I think with their soft draw early, it's going to be pretty hard to fade, as Shandy seems to be doing. But yeah, I do like him as a pick. And then obviously, yeah, Hopper, Ashcroft, Phillips fills out the line. Constable was his McVie I spoke about before. Chesser actually playing okay in some preseason games, but whether or not he's good to go round one is yet to be seen. And we see a Shrek team, so I do love it. Sort of been speaking to more about him. It is a bit annoying that Jackson's not playing this week to sort of see the split again, but it was 75-25 last week, which is more than enough for Shrek. And I think they said it can change game to game, but he was doing big numbers the last 2 years, you know, in games that he had, you know, big scores. And obviously the whole of 2021, he almost did 120 with, you know, about 60, 65. So that's all he needs. That's more than enough. And if it's, as long as it's 65, I'm more than happy to pick him. He's had a full preseason. That's the big thing. He hasn't really had one of those. Knock on wood, he doesn't get anything happen in the next 2 weeks, but that's sort of what happened last year. But he's looking really good, and he's fit. He's firing. He looked really good last week against Adelaide, and I think he gets Lycett this week. So, really like the Shrek pick at the moment. He's my R1 at the moment. English making me a little bit nervous, but we'll see. And then the same forward line. So we've already sort of spoken about that. McAndrew, that Sydney ruck, is an interesting one. Whether or not we think he might play enough to be worthwhile, you know, you probably want 5 or 6 games out of someone like that. We just don't know the status on those other Sydney rucks. So, yeah, we'll see. We got Big Sevens team here. Josh, so he's got Stewart and Dawson, then down to Yo. I did have a setup like this myself at one point, and it just, you know, gave me nice nostalgia of last year doing the same. And obviously you're paying a lot more from this year, but I think they're really my two favourite 600k defenders, I think. Yo, Caulfield, Jimby, McKenna, pretty standard after that. So obviously you'd be a little bit lighter in the mids. Clary, Bont, liking that. And then you've got LDU, and he's someone I've been tossing up very much and is actually in my side right now, LDU. And I do like his opening run. I do like how he finished the back end of last year. He obviously has taken a little bit of time to break out at North. He's shown his signs in games at certain periods over the years, but he really came on last year, and look, he did have quite some easy matchups in doing so when he sort of went off for the last 8 weeks, but it sort of shows he can do it. And look, he does have some soft matches early on as well, with West Coast straight up. I think it's Hawthorn in a few weeks after that. So yeah, CBA and mid minutes and the split between their group is probably something I need to see, because there was no Cunnington and no Simpkin last week. I know he did have 80 plus or something, but that is a little bit annoying. You want to see probably what happens this week. But last year is one of the highest shares that a mid had in his own team. You know, so just a little bit some more guys that can possibly go through there this year. So we'll see. Tom Green, we've said. Finn Callahan's another one who has supposedly been doing really well this preseason, but is also sort of nurturing. I think he's got he's always got both his shoulders taped up, and there's something supposedly that he doesn't pull up too well from games. But it's a bit hard to know. 244k, is he going to get enough mid time? I think he has to go sort of 70 plus, 75 maybe, to be worthwhile. So it's hard. I just don't know if he'll get enough mid time to be worth it. But it's one to definitely think about. and just monitor this week. The rest is good, as we've spoken about. Shrek as well. Another interesting one here. The forward line is not the same as others. He doesn't have cogs. He's got, obviously, maybe too many GWS players he didn't want, but he's got Tanner Bruin, who actually got a big share of the midfield last week, the biggest actually, which was quite surprising. One, I really want to see what happens this week, because he could, if Cogs, something happens with him, or you want to shave some money elsewhere. Cogs is 557, so you do save quite a bit, because obviously I assume everyone's sticking with dunks. At 311k could be an option. He could get into the mid 400s if playing that midfield time, and he sort of probably left for that reason. And he was playing that in the twos, but there was just not enough spots or minutes at GWS to get that. So it's one to think about. And he did look quite good in there, and I think he has some decent tackle numbers in the VFL. One to monitor again for another week, I think. See what happens this week. If he gets another 60 plus, 70, CBA role, it's definitely on for offers there. So it just depends how well he can do with the role. And Flanders is another one who doesn't seem to have the role, but at a bit of a cheaper price. He looks like a good player, plays well. It's just that you do want that more mid-time. He kicked some nice goals in that Pracky game. It's just a bit harder to see without the role, knowing where he sits above Swallow. Probably not. It looking like, even I think Alex Davies was getting more mid-time ahead of him. So it's just, without the role, it's going to be more up and down with the scoring, and may not be worth it in the end. But I think he's a good enough player. And then, look, if anything does happen to one of their main guys, he'll probably be one of the next guys up. So I don't mind Flanders. I just don't, for right now, with the looking like it's more forward. I'm not on board myself. But Oscar Allen's another interesting one. I think George really likes him at 200k to sort of go 70 and make the required money. I don't know. Just playing, for West Coast. He did recently have his own sort of mishap. I don't know. I think he's fine now, going to play this week, but he hasn't had the greatest run with injuries himself. So I want to think about it. I think Radical Lee would be fine enough to field for sort of 50s, 60s. So you're sort of stopping that too. So look, it's different. Don't get me wrong, and I think you always do love to be different, Josh. But yeah, overall, I like the team as a whole, like the setup. But yeah, there's a few picks there. You got Callahan, Bruin, Flanders, Caulfield even, I guess. Quite a few mid-prices you're trying. It's just collective risk is the only thing when you're trying a lot of those players in the one team. Cotsy, we've got a couple more here. So Stewart, he starts with Dacos, Yo, Caulfield, Constable, Chesser. Again, sort of standard, maybe no Jinby. We're not seeing much of Goda anymore, and I think that's fine, because he is 190k. He's a second year player. Well, he's only played one game. He might be playing some wing too, more than half back. If it was half back predominantly, I think I'd be more on with the pick. But it might be some wing, and at 190k, he has to go quite well to be worth it. Yeah. So no Jinby here. Yeah, look, it's much of a muchness now. We don't totally know. McKenna may still get back in, or be in the frame. We're not too sure. Probably has to perform this week, so hard to know. Midfield, Bont, Parrish. You got Jimby on the mid bench, I've just seen. Steele, Green. But Dom Sheed. Old Dommy Sheed is one I want to speak about, because he's been in my team for about a month and hasn't moved. I've been sort of, I had Titch there, I had Sheed, and I need an excuse, really. I was looking for an excuse not to pick him. Titch just seemed to me like he was going to be an 80% midfielder. He wasn't in that first practice game, so I took him out. That's all I needed was an excuse, and I sort of got one. I guess I could flip. We'll see what happens this week, but I took him out for that reason. Sheet I'm sort of looking for too, but he had 75%, I believe, last week. Reports were he looked pretty horrible. A few guys have been saying who watched the game he wasn't that great, which I'm not totally surprised by. I never was in love with him as a player, but given the role, he can go 90, and it just needs to go in the 90 somewhere, and he'll make enough money. So I am looking for a reason. I think Shuey wasn't playing Jinby either, so hopefully this week we'll see what happens with the split there at West Coast, and if it's back down to 55-60, I'm happy to sort of jump off. as I said, just looking for an excuse. But I think if it looks like he's going to be majority and really up there in the split, be hard not to pick because there's probably a good score in there somewhere early on, maybe a couple, and he'll make his money. So, yeah, just really see what the mid-time looks like this week, and we'll make a call from there. The rest, all pretty standard. Obviously we're hoping for some of those mid-rookies to get come through. Jerome Whitler. I really get the pick. Like, I get the points. George, obviously, I've heard a lot from him of the reason for it and why he's going there. Hoping to play every game. Yes, he's overpriced a little bit, but if you get 100 plus, whatever, triple digits, plays every game, the pick is to George would have been a success, providing none of the other English, Darcy, I guess to an extent, like I said, all those, provided none of those pop off, and pop off would be 110 plus, not miss games, that sort of thing. So he's sort of you're betting against the others really by picking Wits, not betting for him. And look, in Wits' defence, I watched a bit of the first bracket game. He looked really, really good. He was going in hard, diving for loose balls, taking marks all around the ground. Like, he was really, he performed really well. So maybe there's upside, I guess, and he's around the ground stuff, and he's 1 year further removed from the ACL. So, yeah, you can say there's positives there, but there's also maybe some regression with the hit-outs that he was getting, easy matchups last year, left, right, and centre. And funnily enough, your person at R3, Kotze, is the guy who's getting in round one, most likely. So he gets another one straight off the bat. But, it's... I get the pick. I get the reasonings. And if you're not liking the flags with the other guys, I can totally understand it. And then, that same forward line we've seen time and time again. I think if we ask people, I know us three, if you had to drop one, I guess is all we can really decipher here is I think Cogs is the answer for most people on who they would drop if they had to. There has been a little bit of Torano, hate. I won't say hate, but some people have been asking the question to fade him. Well, it's just don't do it. Don't fade him. He's going to get 75% midfield time. In the past, he's done like 105 plus with 50%. Like, he's going to outperform his price very, very easily and be a top 6 forward, even if not better, and probably better, top 3 or 4. So I just don't see the point in trying to discuss fading him, but some people are. And we'll lastly finish with Spen, who, we are seeing a lot of light defences. Dacos straight down to Yo, Caulfield at D3. He's very, very light. And it does allow you to do some more things with your midfield, allows you to have, those 4 forwards. I like the setup. I think this looks a little bit similar to someone's team before, but you do also have 97k in the bank with this team. So I wouldn't mind a little bit more not security, but I think Dawson is obviously a lot better picked than Dacos, and you're not too far away from getting that done. You probably could get that done quite easily if you just get a Philippou down to a 123k rookie and go Dacos to Dawson. I think this is as a team that I have a little bit similarly. So, I like the structure here. It's becoming a bit more popular. If all these defender rookies and options come through, I think it's going to be plausible. We just obviously have to wait and see. But sorry, Spen, there's not too much more to speak about with your team. A lot of picks I think we've all spoken about. That forward line's very popular, as I said. Got Darcy now, which I like. And then there's Parrish and Steele, who I want to see maybe another week from Steele for sure. And then Parrish, I just have these concerns myself. But that opening draw for him, I think he has Hawthorn around 1. He's going to go bananas. It's a good team overall. I like it. So, thanks for watching, guys. If you want to be a part of the probably next couple, will probably be 1 or 2 on each of our channels over the next couple of weeks as the practice games wrap up and we head towards round 1. We'll sign up. As I said, there's I think only a few to go till 100, which is greatly appreciated. But there's still some content you can watch. It's going to be open all season as well. It's not like it's going to go away. You're going to be part of leagues with us as well, and some group chats involved with those. We'll just keep, the private section will be open all year. We can always discuss stuff. and whether or not we do some in-season stuff is yet to be determined. But we've thoroughly enjoyed doing what we've done this preseason so far. So thanks for watching. That's enough talking for me. 25 minutes. But I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you on the next video. Cheers. Got the mojo deals, we been tripping like the 80s. Pulling out the coupe at the lot.